this is a conversation that involves everybody, because allergies actually affect a lot of people. And I'm sure if it's not affecting you right now, it's probably affecting someone in your family or someone you know, your friend, your sister, your colleague. So this conversation is definitely for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So from sneezing and rashes to also life-threatening reactions, allergies really come in different forms and can be triggered by food, dust, pollen, and so much more. But the thing is, a lot of people are misdiagnosed, and a lot of people do not also know how to handle allergies, and this is why we're about to have this conversation. What is allergy and how can it be managed? Ladies and gentlemen, in the studio with me is Dr. Hilary Ando, who's the president of the Allergy Society of Ghana, and Professor Jonathan Hurihani, who's the president, or Hurihane?
That's okay.
Hurihane or Hurihani?
Second one, Hurihane.
All right, Hurihane, who's the president of the Clemens von Pickett Foundation. You are all welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
You have no allergies, right?
I have one.
You have one. All right, so before we get into what your allergy is, what is an allergy?
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
So allergies, if we talk about allergies, we are talking about the body's reaction or the body's exaggerated response to something that's foreign, which ideally should not pose a problem for the general population. But there are some groups of individuals who have a predisposition just by virtue of either their genetics or immune system, where there is that exaggerated response, and it's manifested in different forms, some swelling, some hives, in various organ systems. So you could have allergies affecting the nose, you could have allergic conditions on the skin, you could have in the eyes, where we say conjunctivitis, or you could have asthma, which is also under allergies. And then
so
there are some food allergies.
Actually come under allergies?
Allergic conjunctivitis.
Okay, all right. Okay. So why should we be worried about allergies? And especially when the usual notion is that this usually does not kill you?
That is the usual notion, but let's remember that poor quality of life can be very, very, very depressing. And so with the various allergic conditions, if we talk about food allergy, imagine somebody who is peanut allergic. A child who is peanut allergic and has to go to a party. Already there's a lot of anxiety, there's depression, there's that sense of social isolation because he can't play with peers who are in the party and eating peanuts. For people with allergic rhinitis, they're always sneezing, have congestion. During the day, they have poor work performance, they have poor school performance because they obviously haven't slept well at night. And they are probably bullied for it in school as well. And if you talk about eczema, especially if it's the severe eczema, you can imagine the patient always scratching the whole time. They are also socially withdrawn just because of how they look outwardly. They may be neglected by colleagues at work, friends in school. There are even people who are bullied because they have food allergies in school. And financially, there's a high cost to the not just the patients, the family,
the parents,
and the parents. And then all the missed days at school and at work because you need to be going to the hospital from time to time. So it's a real burden, and some are severe and life-threatening and can cause death as well.
Wow. So Professor Hurihane, let's talk about food allergy. What do we need to know about food allergy, and what are some of the foods that actually cause allergic reactions to people?
There's a really quite a short list of foods that cause most allergic reactions, and unfortunately they're foods that we all eat commonly, like milk and egg for children.
Milk?
Yeah, so cow's milk allergy and egg allergy are the two most common ones in babies, and that's followed then in European and other centres by other parts of the world by peanut and nuts and seeds, and fish and wheat and soya. So there are lots of common foods. So
So we actually have them here.
Yeah.
So you can just show if you want to show.
So
Yeah.
the problem is, if you're allergic to a common food, your diet has to be markedly different from people who don't have these allergies.
Right.
And we have to make sure that people know what the symptoms of an allergy are and are not blaming foods for symptoms that are not allergic in nature.
Right, right.
Because 20% of people think they have a food allergy, whereas we know that only 2% have. So a lot of the problems that people say are due to foods are not allergy. And the ones who have allergies then get disbelieved because the other symptoms that people are wondering about are minor. But serious food allergy affects about 2% of people. And with a short list of foods, they need a lot of intense care quickly to make sure their diagnosis is the right diagnosis and they're not avoiding things that they don't need to avoid.
And now, when these food allergies come, how do they present itself?
For babies, for instance, they may get a rash, like swelling around their mouth, or things called hives.
Right.
Or they may get breathing difficulties or become unconscious, which is called anaphylaxis.
Yeah.
So not every allergic reaction is anaphylaxis, but every
Yeah.
person who has food allergies is at risk of anaphylaxis.
Right.
So they need to be very, very careful. And families need to be aware of where the foods might be and what they might need to do if they are exposed.
Right. So, Doc, can allergies actually develop later in life, or are these only conditions that start from childhood and you just grew up with it?
So some allergies can develop later in life. Okay, we have what we call an atopic match. Looking at the allergic conditions, so you may have early onset eczema, and then later develop food allergies, then asthma and allergic rhinitis. And for some food allergies, there are people who end up having the food allergies developing later in life. Those are a special group of food allergies that we won't delve into now. And for asthma, we have early onset asthma. We have other people who can develop asthma much later on in life due to other factors that come into play.
Right, but are schools and public facilities actually equipped to manage allergies?
That's a good question, because in our setting, we haven't developed that to that extent. And so though a number of schools have infirmaries and a few emergency equipment, they don't, a lot of them, I would say, are not optimally set up to manage allergies. And that's one of the roles Allergy Society has to play and to improve upon in educating the public, educating schools. So this is just the beginning to help educate the public. And then with time, we can zoom into schools, of course, with collaboration from the Ghana Education Service, and be able to get groups or cohorts of people in schools who would be basically responsible for management of allergies should they be in schools.
Right. So, Prof, is it okay for people to just walk into labs and just demand for, allergy tests?
The tests are very good if they have been ordered by somebody who has worked out what's likely to be a positive result. So a doctor with allergy experience ordering, that person will probably order 2 or 3 tests relating to the foods that are important. Whereas somebody going into a health store and saying, I want an allergy test, they might get 50 or 60 tests. And most of those, this is real life, that most of those are going to be negative, but some are going to be what are called falsely positive. They might be cross-reactive reactions, or they may have very low levels. And unless an expert is reviewing those results, they are definitely unhelpful. So the best first step for somebody who thinks they might be allergic to something is to meet a doctor who knows about this, to reassure them about the edges of their concerns, and then focus on the things that are really necessary.
Right.
A blood test on its own is not a proper diagnosis.
Right. That's interesting. But would you say it's hereditary?
Well, the allergy tendency runs in families. So if a mother has hay fever or rhinitis, she's more likely to have a child with eczema or food allergies. But there isn't a single gene. So it's not like we can go after a gene and knock it out.
Right.
And then the other thing about it being a family disease is families live in the same way together. So the tendency to have allergies is promoted that way too.
Right. So what's the Allergy Society of Ghana all about, and why is it important for you to have this society?
The Allergy Society of Ghana is a group comprising different cadres of health staff. So mainly doctors and the nurses, and there are some allied health staff as well. This society was born out of the need to improve awareness in the management and proper diagnosis of patients with allergic conditions. Not only educating health staff, but patient advocacy as well. So just as we talked about the impacts of allergic diseases on the community and individuals, we as health professionals need to first improve upon our diagnostic mechanisms of managing the patients, and also step that down to other health professionals, because we have very few, actually worldwide, we have very few allergy specialists worldwide. And so this is a way of making the public aware, and also creating avenues for collaboration, creating guidelines to help it make it easier for other health professionals to be able to follow a simple guideline in terms of referral systems and management.
Right. So, Prof, why was it important for you to actually collaborate with the Allergy Society of Ghana?
Well, the mission of our charity is to promote the education and in pediatric allergy care around the world, and we've been to many parts of the world. We've been to Tanzania, and Nigeria, and Latvia, Estonia, Norway. So allergy has been a condition related to the developed world, living in large urban centers, eating prepared foods. And we know that other societies are developing like that too, and eating more food prepared by people not from the family. Fast food.
Processed food.
I couldn't think of the word processed. Fast food and processed foods. And they may have a role to play in the causation of allergies. So we need to raise awareness that this is a common problem, one in 20 or so children. So in every primary school class, there's going to be at least one of these children. Every school, there's going to be 10 or 15. So we need awareness of that. We need to help give the schools the confidence and competence in how to manage this, and to reassure families that you can live with a food allergy, and it's not likely that you're going to die from a food allergy. We want you to be able to say, I can manage this, and education and international support for societies like the Allergy Society of Ghana is going to make that happen.
Right. So lastly, if a parent thinks the child has an allergy, what are they supposed to do?
They are supposed to go to a healthcare professional. I would say in our environment, because of referral systems, sometimes it may be difficult to walk directly to a tertiary facility, but at least go to the closest healthcare professional, get the opinion of that professional. You are likely to be referred to a higher center if it happens. As I said, we don't have that many allergy specialists, but definitely there are different hierarchies in management, and so you definitely get a specialist who is likely to manage you, and then ultimately you get linked to the appropriate quarters.
Right. Thank you so much. This was a very important conversation,
Thank
and
you
I
too.
really enjoyed it. And I'm sure people at home also enjoyed this, especially if you think you have allergies. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. All you need to do is just walk into a hospital and then check yourself out. But we've been speaking to Dr. Hilary Ando, who's the president of the Allergy Society of Ghana, and Professor Jonathan Hurricane, the president of Clemens von Pickett Foundation. And it's been a conversation on allergies and how it can be managed.